Congratulations, you've just submitted your application to Northwestern Kellogg School of Management. Now what? Well, it's never too early to begin preparing for your Kellogg interview. Especially considering that Kellogg strives to interview all applicants, you may be matched with an interviewer as soon as 1 week after submitting your application. This rare opportunity to basically have a guaranteed interview also means that roughly only a third of interviewees will be admitted to Kellogg. Interestingly enough, considering they interview so many people, the interview stakes are actually kind of high. Let's get started on our tips for how to ace your Kellogg interview. Our first tip, know the basics of Kellogg's interview format. As I mentioned, most Kellogg applicants are interviewed and must schedule the interviews themselves once matched with an interviewer. Kellogg interviews are resume-based, meaning your interviewer will not have seen your entire application before the interview, only your resume. So your interviewer won't know your GPA or test score unless you put these on your resume. And of course, you can freely reference stories from your essays because they won't have read your entire application. If you're wondering who will conduct your Kellogg interview, most are typically hosted by Kellogg alums. These are graduates who volunteered and have received some guidelines from the admissions office about how to conduct these interviews. For alum interviews, we advise that you be prepared for a range of questions and styles, as we see much more variability in approach with alums than, say, with admissions officers. According to our clients, Kellogg interviews typically last between 30 and 45 minutes, though some have lasted as long as 75 minutes. As of now, Kellogg is conducting all interviews virtually, so make sure you treat a virtual interview as professionally as you would an in-person interview. Plan to be in a quiet place with a reliable internet connection and test out your video setup ahead of time. Of course, you don't want to have any technical problems on interview day. Our second tip, understand what Kellogg is looking for in their interviews. Kellogg describes the interview as a way for the admissions committee to further evaluate your interpersonal and communication skills, career focus, and motivations for the Kellogg MBA. Kellogg seeks to ensure that applicants have a solid grasp of how the MBA program would benefit them and how they would fit with the Kellogg community. By this stage, you should understand Kellogg's values, such as empathy and collaboration. But if you need a refresher, check out our video on how to get into Kellogg, or for more in-depth information, download our free Insider's Guide to Kellogg. Our third tip, prepare for the most common Kellogg interview topics. From the hundreds of Kellogg applicants we've partnered with, we see common themes that Kellogg asks about in their admissions interviews. These are leadership, which includes questions such as, how have you made an impact as a leader? Describe a leadership accomplishment. Tell me about a time when you stepped up to be a leader. What is your leadership style, and more. Teamwork, which includes questions certainly not limited to, tell me about a time when you handled a team conflict. Describe a time when a teammate wasn't pulling their weight. Tell me about a time when you were on a high-performing team. What was so effective about it? Diversity, including questions like, tell me about a time when you worked with different people. Describe a time when you were part of a diverse team. Why was it effective? How could you have done better? And of course, you certainly need to be ready for questions about Kellogg itself. Straightforward questions like, why is Kellogg the right program for you? How will you contribute to the Kellogg community? And more. For even more questions asked by Kellogg in previous interviews, download our free Kellogg Interview Guide. Our fourth tip, prepare for other core MBA interview topics. These are common topics you should prepare for no matter which school you're interviewing with. And the good news is that you should know these topics well after preparing your application materials. Some of the core interview questions include, wait for it, walk me through your resume. What are your post-MBA career goals? Why do you want an MBA? Why now? You might also encounter some tougher questions that applicants struggle with, like, what other schools have you applied to? What have you learned from a failure? What will you do if you're not accepted to business school this year? What is your alternative plan? For these questions, be honest and thoughtful in your responses. While the questions may seem complicated, your interviewer is simply trying to understand your thought process and what is important to you, as well as your fit with your target school. You should always be prepared for some thoughtful questions of your own for your interviewer. Most Kellogg interviews end with a Q&A portion, a time for you as an applicant to get further acquainted with the program. In Kellogg's case, as mentioned earlier, your interviewer is typically an alum of the program. Alums may not know about the latest happenings on campus, but they can talk about their personal experiences at Kellogg and their subsequent career path. For instance, you could ask, what is your ongoing relationship like with the school and how have they fostered your career path? Or, what's one thing you learned at Kellogg that really changed your leadership style? Avoid basic questions like, why should I go to Kellogg? Instead, ask next level questions demonstrating your advanced knowledge of the school. Watch our video on questions to ask your interviewer for more insight on how to do this. And now our final tip to ace your Kellogg interview: practice. We performed thousands of mock interviews over the years and know how valuable they are to helping applicants gain confidence. While you do not want to appear too scripted or rehearsed, a mock interview or 2 or even 3 will help you familiarize yourself with the format and style of a typical Kellogg interview. Practice formulating your responses and get your feedback on your content and delivery through a mock interview. Putting all these tips together, you should be well on your way to acing your Kellogg interview. The interview is an essential element of Kellogg's admissions decision. Be sure to approach your interview prep with the same level of attention as the other parts of your application. Good luck with your Kellogg interview.